Son, brother is here, Andy, and been sitting and would like to get up and just, yeah.
How's everybody doing?
I've got a million things to tell you guys about James, but I don't know really if I should or not. So James is 12 years older than me. I'm the number two, the middle one, and we've got a younger brother, Jason, who's a couple of years younger than I am. So when I was about 5 or 6 is when James moved away, so we didn't get to see him a whole lot for the next several years. And he came back when I was probably 12 or 13. And, you know, as time went on, we got to spend more time together, but he was always on the road. His first band, Dealer's Choice, they all worked for my dad, and they all lived in my house with the rest of us, and we had one bathroom.
Oh.
And that was pretty rough. That was pretty rough. I'm really glad to see everybody come out, you know, for this today. James was, he was special in a lot of ways. But he could really piss you off. And as his brother, I learned that pretty young. We were standing in the kitchen. I was about 12 or 13, and James, I don't know if you guys knew, but he had taken a lot of martial arts growing up. There was a group of brothers that used to whoop him every week. So he started taking karate to try to prevent that from happening. And I said a mouthful to James, and I don't remember why. And it didn't come out the way I wanted. But he hit me about 3 times faster than I ever remember being hit. And I remember as I was running away, I jumped outside and I got on my bicycle and I rode. Then I got to get away from him. So, but when I got back, you know, he was all apologetic and sorry. And you know, I told him, you know, I just really didn't mean to say that the way I did. And he said, well, you won't never say that to me again. I said, so, and I've got a few of those for him. When I was 16, we were in his van. A guy named Dennis Stewart was driving, I think. James had a couple of beers, so he wasn't going to drive. Went into a little convenience store, and as we were leaving, Dennis backed into this guy's truck. And come to find out, it was one of the brothers, it was 2 of the brothers of the guys that used to whoop him every week growing up. So James got out, they were talking, and James said, well, you know, it was our fault, so let me get your insurance card, and I'll give you my insurance card, we'll do all this information, and you know, we'll make sure we take care of your truck. And the guy said, okay, that's fine, and he started to walk away and to get his information, and James was right behind him, and the guy this was in the middle of summer, and we're all a bunch of country guys, and he turns around, James steps on his foot, the guy was barefoot. Well, he pulls a pistol out on James. Mad, all of a sudden mad that James stepped on his foot, so he pulls a pistol out on James. Then his brother jumps out the truck. James knocks the pistol out of the guy's hand, spins around and kicks him in the head, kicks the other one in the head, and leaves them both on the ground, and he reaches down and grabs that insurance card and goes, to hell with you and the insurance. We got in the van and drove away. They drove So he was willing to fix it until they come to a confrontation, but I don't think he ever fixed the guy's truck.
They probably didn't want to see him again.
No, they didn't. It was funny because he took him whoopings for 2 or 3 years every week and didn't tell them. They had no idea that he was taking all these martial arts. And then one day he had enough and he left them all laying on the ground. And that was the last time they picked him. But he was fine.
So how old was he about then?
God, I was 16, so that put him at what, 28?
Yeah.
Wow. About 28.
So he was probably a little bit more fit than when
Oh,
we got to know him later on.
Yeah, he's in pretty good shape. I mean, I remember when we were kids, we went down to Paris Island, picked him up, you know, when he got out from Marine boot camp. And me and my little brother, we didn't know who he was. No. My dad, I'll never forget this. Dad was remodeling the house, big addition to the house, brick on the house. James was taking his karate and he was busting off bricks. And my old man used to get so mad at him. He would get so mad. He'd come home and there'd be another stack of broken bricks. James was breaking bricks. So they'd have to get them bricks together and he'd give them to the masons to use the first rung that was going to be, you know, below the ground. And that's what the whole house has got, broken bricks.
I'm really glad I didn't know about that, because there are some good songs that wouldn't have been cut if because he would sometimes get pretty angry. If I knew that he had that martial arts stuff, I probably wouldn't have pushed him as hard.
I think you reached a point in James' life where he used to tell us all the time, he'd be laying there stretched out, he said, "Don't you bother me, Prater, I got the perfect karate foot." I told him, I said, "I can give you $100 if you raise your leg up and kick it." I ain't taking no offense against his brother like that, but I never seen James do too much kicking. Not with you.
Well, I understand he used to be a good baseball player too.
Yeah, he did play baseball. He really liked to play cards.
Is that where the name of the group came from?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe so. We like cards. I've lived all over the country doing just what I do for a living, and you know, we saw him in Florida and California and Arizona and just different places. We went to Bullhead City, Arizona, and his biggest thing was like, get across the border because I'm going to teach you how to play Keno. Yeah, he liked Keno. We always had a good time. Every time we got together anywhere in Nevada like that, he always gave me $20 to go put the slots. Which one, James? One that feels right.
He didn't teach you all them tricks like that. See that lady back there, she's been there 4 hours. Get her, she gets off the machine, go get it, it's hot.
He did say that.
Yeah, we got into talking about gambling strategies once. He talked about, you know, watch, he sets the machine, the lady with a little bucket of nickels or whatever, you know. And if it doesn't light up, she gets up and goes for it. Or ask the waitress which machine to go to, and then tip her good if it goes off.
Yeah. Good old James. We'll all miss him.
Yeah.
We do. Oh, next weekend up in Cana, where we're from, Cana, Virginia, we're having a benefit to put a really nice memorial headstone on this grave. And everything over the amount's going to go to the local intermediate school's music department. The retired, a retired teacher decided to start putting this thing together. I don't think she ever met James, but she got to watching a lot of his interviews and different things on YouTube, and was moved by him and decided to do this. So she's got us all in a nonprofit, and that's something that she's thinking that she might do some kind of memorial fund or something every year. But next weekend on the 8th, we're going to have it back home in the school that we all went to as we grew up. Just a few miles from where we grew up, a couple of miles, 3 miles from where we grew up. So, and there's a Facebook, James King Memorial Facebook page. You guys check that out. It's got the instructions and everything that's going on with that. I think that'll be a pretty good time.
One thing we do want to say too, and Becky made mention of it, and him talking about the school, it's kind of a real appropriate time. James took a very big shine into promoting youth into the world of music and stuff, and there's a young gentleman sitting right here in the front row who's a perfect example of that. James took a very much shine in this young man. I know I've watched this kid grow up too, and was working with James when James first met him. And James loved kids, and he loved watching any kid play music. One of the stories he always shared, he said this beautiful little young girl was singing some of the best tenor I've ever heard in my life, and she was standing against a tree. I said, but she was just cutting it. He said, then she put the fiddle under her chin, she played the fiddle. He said, God, she's a genius. He said, I took off walking, got over to her and said, honey, you can flat sing, so let's sing a song together. And they sung a Monroe tune together. Said he asked her, said, who are you? And he said, I'm Allison Krauss. It blowed his mind, you know. Allison was real young, man. He told that story so many times, and but he truly loved kids. And I seen him many, many times when we was traveling throughout so many places. He would bring kids up on the stage, and he was always so encouraging to anyone that was wanting to get into the music, learn something about the music. I never seen him turn no one away like that. He always had a place in his heart. He said, you know, do the best. This young man right here, I know he performed with James several times like that. He loved this boy right here. There's Isaac Moore sitting on the front row right here. And he's a very, very, very youthful, upcoming talent like that. He's growing leaps and bounds both ways, as a young man and as a talent. But James truly loved him, and once again, this one here, he's got that Stanley blood running through him too. So you know, that was the instant. That's kind of like putting quick bond on something with James. You know, you start talking to him about Stanley's like, yeah, you got this record, you heard this, you know, and it's just one of them things. But very much, and definitely would want people to definitely remember James. That's something he was very, very proud of, and I cherish that too. I know Isaac does, and so does many others.
Yeah, it's standing back here, same thing. I played in a band. We were all young guys at the time. I believe when I met Waldo, we were playing at a festival in Wind Gap up in PA, and we had a band that we were all probably 16, maybe at the time.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, we were kind of just hanging out in the parking lot picking, and one of the guys came down and said, hey, James wants us to get up and do a couple tunes with him. And then, of course, we were all nervous. But yeah, James, always encouraging. I think every time we played Wind Gap and we were there on the same day after that, he always got us up to do a tune at the end of his show. And very, very encouraging with the kids.
Did you tell him that he had to tell that and say the part about him being a teenager and me playing him? Did you encourage that too? How do you feel right now? Still love me, don't you?
Here's a we'll do it, God.